Welcome to the Greater Good. First off, I'd like to thank my sponsor, the San Diego Harbor Police Foundation, for supporting this really kind of a fun time that I get to spend with what I consider to be people of import within our community, sometimes outside our community. But mostly, when I decide who I'd like to come on my show, I look for people that have not just a financial impact for people in need or programs throughout the county, but people that actually they get the job done. They get in there, they get their hands dirty and their feet on the ground, and they make an impact in our county here. And so today, I'm really excited to welcome Casey Castillo from the Jacobs and Cushman San Diego Food Bank. Hey, how are you, Casey? Good to see you.
I'm doing well. Pleasure to be here, Jeff. We appreciate the invitation and always love to talk about the San Diego Food Bank. And yes, the food bank is on the ground. We're doing that work in our communities. And so thank you again.
Oh, you're welcome. So just, historically speaking, there are a couple of food banks in San Diego County. I think some people get a little bit confused about it, but I mean, I've been to your facility a number of times. I've been on the tour. I've listened to Jim Flores' boring talk, with his cheap sandwiches that he used to offer us. And basically, not true. They really do a great job on their tours, and it's pretty impressive. I mean, maybe give my listeners, and by the way, Sarah just told me recently that I have about 50,000 people that actually want to listen to my voice. Or listen to the people that are on here. So be on your best behavior, Casey.
Well, you're very popular. Yes. And you're talking about our ELTs, our executive lunch tours. And so
Right.
we need to up our game on sandwiches. Is that what you're saying?
No, I was just teasing.
Yeah. So there are two great food banks. We work very closely together, collaborate on a number of things. And I was on the phone with their CEO today, and our staffs communicate weekly. So it benefits the community, I think, to have two very strong food banks. In terms of our operation, and sounds like you've been in the warehouse, we're in a 100,000 square foot warehouse in Miramar. It's a large operation. We have another location in Vista. That's a 40,000 square foot warehouse. And during the pandemic, I leased another building in Miramar to store food, and that's about 30,000 square feet. So in total, we're almost at 200,000 square feet. And that was because the demand increased and we needed to ramp up and meet that demand. So great staff here, lots of warehouse workers and drivers that are on the ground, like you mentioned, in the various communities throughout San Diego County and serving our community members.
Yeah, that's really exciting. So, right, the pandemic was, of course, an exceptional or extraordinary event and still ongoing. And so a lot of your food is perishable. And how do you manage those ups and downs in trends, with perishable food?
Yeah, thank you for that. We purchased a lot of food during the pandemic. In a normal year, we would spend $1 million to $2 million on food purchases. During that pandemic, that 12-month period, we spent about 15 million. And at this point, we're
kidding.
over 18 million.
That
And a lot of,
amazing.
yeah, it's wild. And the community was there to support us. We wouldn't have been able to do that if the community hadn't stepped up. So those dollars that were donated to us, we turned around and we purchased food. A lot of that food that we purchase is produce. And yes, it's perishable. There's a turnaround. We have large refrigeration in our warehouses. And so that produce, when it comes in, it goes into that refrigeration. We hold on to that produce for 24 hours, maybe 48 hours, and then typically it's out our door. And so we had the infrastructure. We have 200 distribution sites throughout the county, and we partner with over 500 nonprofits that get food from us. So that infrastructure was there, and then our job was to get more food out to it during the pandemic. And we were able to do that.
That's extraordinary to go from 1 to 2 million per year purchase to 15 to 18 million. Talk about ramping up. So as you know, our foundation, the San Diego Harbor Police Foundation, we support Perkins K8 school. in the Barrio Logan, and we have a relationship with you guys for a pantry. But we want to expand that in this current school year to include a backpack program. Can you tell us how that works, the backpack program?
Absolutely, it's a very popular program. I think it resonates with everybody. And yeah, we are partnered up to help. We have a pantry there, and we were there and partnered with the San Diego School District during the pandemic to supplement some of the food that they were bringing out to that school and that neighborhood. And so we did that during the pandemic, which was, I think, successful for that school and the community. So our Food for Kids backpack program is a program where we serve 3,300 students throughout the year, a 9-month period, so a school year, and we deliver food every week to 67 schools. We're in 14 school districts, and so we deliver food to those schools. And these children that were chosen by their teacher or a school nurse.
Mhm.
These are chronically hungry children, and they may be experiencing other issues that were red flags for that teacher or that administrator. And so they recommend those names to us, and then we supply the food. It's done in a very dignified way. At the end of that student's day on Friday, they go to the office, and their teacher, or again, a school nurse, will drop a bag of food that our volunteers put together during the week in their backpack. We supply the backpack at the beginning of the year as well. And so that child will then take that food home because that child is missing meals, consecutive meals, not only during the week, but is probably not eating a whole lot during the weekend. So we supply a bag that will sustain that child throughout the weekend so he can come back to school on Monday with a full stomach, ready to learn. Things like that, we believe, will end the cycle of poverty. It also put that child in a better position to learn and to be successful in the future. We get so many thank you letters. These children and family are grateful. These thank you letters are so compelling, and that you see trends. And one of the things that we see so often with these students is that they will thank us because they were able to feed their sibling over the weekend. It's heartbreaking, but it is real. And we love that program. I know the community does too, and does a really nice job of supporting it. There are more than 3,300 schools throughout San Diego, or 3,300 students throughout San Diego County that are in need, which is why we continue to grow that program every year.
We can add another school to that program, effective very, very shortly here. So I'm not sure. Go ahead.
So the cost of that program is minimal as well, and I think people appreciate that. Before the pandemic, before there was a price increase on food, right? There's inflation right now in food prices. The cost of that student for the year is $200. So to bring on a school, we typically do 50 students, anywhere from 50 to 100 school, is a fairly small price tag to feed that many children. So I think donors appreciate that. We've been able to keep that cost per child stable for almost a decade. Now with COVID, we're probably going to up it just a little bit because the cost of food has changed. And we've also changed the menu. We're providing more nutritious food and more food in those bags. So it's a wonderful program. Appreciate your interest and your support of it.
Yeah, glad to. I'm not sure if you know it, but Perkins K8, 3.5 years ago, they had a 3% homelessness ratio, and currently today it's over 40%.
Yeah.
Reading comprehension in second, third, and fourth grade was in the 85 percentile. Today it's in the low 40 percentile. So, there is a need in that school in particular that is not, fortunately, it's not universal, but it's certainly pretty dramatic. And so our foundation has taken what we consider to be a holistic approach to that school. So not only do we currently have 53 tutors that go to campus and then online with the second, third, and fourth graders. So they're working on their reading comprehension. We have well, you guys have the pantry program. We're going to start the food for kids program here shortly. Just all kinds of outreach, field trips. We have 9 officers that have adopted a grade level, and so those police officers, they follow those kids through their career at Perkins. So when the children matriculate in 8th grade, those officers are right there with them, in the classroom, taking them out, going on field trips. Even during the pandemic, they were online on the Zoom calls with the kids. We have a couple of really cool programs one called Fish with a Cop, where we take Perkins kids out ocean fishing. And then we have Shop with a Cop, which is more of a holiday celebration program. So, and we're also going to be working with the parents of these children, because we might be able to get reading comprehension rates up for those 2nd, 3rd, and 4th graders, and we can get those 6th, 7th, and 8th graders out into career pathways with our relationships from my board. I have board members from Qualcomm. I have the CEO of Qualcomm. I have one of the presidents of Qualcomm. I've got NASCO. I've got Solar Turbines. I've got the hotels. So, we have a lot of industries that we represent. And so those kids, those 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, we're going to be taking them out of school two times a month, and basically giving them a career pathway. And depending on their passion and their aptitude, then we'll follow on with that, hopefully into high school. So yeah, we're doing a lot there. But like you said, if you're hungry or you can't read, you can't learn.
Yeah.
So without food and without that basic knowledge base of reading, you're set up for failure.
Absolutely. And that's wonderful. Thank you for doing all of that. And that's really what it takes to help these students. Yeah, if you're living in your car or on your street, 1, you're not sleeping well. 2, you're not doing your homework. And 3, you're not eating well. And so, and it sounds like you have a comprehensive way of supporting these families and these students. So thank you. And Food Bank's happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, when we first started with our adoption at Perkins, we did Fish with a Cop.
Yep.
So we took 27 kids from Perkins out on the Doherty fishing vessel. They caught 110 fish. We had 27 officers with 27 kids. There were no guns, no badges. Everybody had a cool T-shirt. So it was a lot of unity that occurred there. But at the end of it, I said to Chief Steinbrook, I said, Mark, that was a great program. It's a memory and whatnot, but so what? Where's the real impact on that child's life?
Yeah.
Other than they got to see something. And by the way, Casey, none of those kids had ever been on the water.
Yeah.
Period.
And how many had ever fished? Probably
none of them had ever fished. And they lived 2 blocks away. And, so those opportunities, granted, it was a cool day. They had a great time. Kids and the officers bonded and, hopefully developed some lasting relationships. But, like I said, it's just a blip. So if we don't look at what you do in particular at the food bank holistically, then we're never going to get ahead of this thing.
I agree. And that's why it's so vital that we work with, I mentioned our 500 nonprofit partners, right? We want more and more of them. We all have to work at this together. And as you mentioned, you just listed a ton of services that you're providing. That's what it takes to end the cycle of poverty. That's what it takes to help these families. And the food bank is a part of that, and we're grateful to be a part of it. But it takes a lot more as well.
So you're the correct me if I'm wrong, interim, acting, temporary, what's the right term, CEO of the food bank?
So I am the interim CEO.
Oh, interim.
I have been the CFO for almost 14 years, and this is my 3rd time as interim CEO. So maybe I'll get it right this time. I don't know, Jeff.
I don't know.
But it does help that I've been here for that long and experienced a lot of things. I was here along with our other VPs. The 3 VPs have been together for almost 14 years. We were all together during the Great Recession. And that came in healthy actually during the pandemic. We understood what it would take to ramp up. And we also, in terms of the future, we saw the recovery lag during the Great Recession and how long that took. We're expecting that this time as well. So all of our planning, all the strategies that we're devising, they're all 2 or 3 years out, because we expect to continue to work at this quick pace. And so I mentioned the food that we purchased and how much we were spending a year. We're anticipating we're going to need to keep spending a lot on food. Maybe not at the levels that we did at the height of the pandemic, but we're still serving a lot of people. So the San Diego Food Bank is the largest hunger relief organization in San Diego County. Last year, we distributed 60 million pounds of food. That was up from 43 million. So a 40% increase year to year. And we went from serving 350,000 people to 550,000 people per month. And at the height of the pandemic, it was 600,000. So there is a lot of need out there. And even though we've come down from the height of the pandemic, the dip in how many people we're serving is very small. And we expect to stay somewhere around this pace for the foreseeable future. And so all of our planning has that in mind.
So I'm all about shameless marketing. And so please feel free to pitch I know you have a really robust volunteer program at the food bank. So, I mean, feel free, and we're going to put a ticker down here at the bottom so that everyone who's listening can make sure they know what your website is, and make sure that people are aware of your contribution and, more importantly, your needs. So there it is right now. It's got your toll-free number up there.
Wonderful. Thank you. So we couldn't do the work that we do without our volunteers. We have 25,000 typically that come through volunteers, our warehouse each year. During the pandemic, we had 44,000 volunteer visits, which is pretty incredible, because think about it, with all the restrictions in place, that really limited a lot of corporations. And we were really worried about that. However, individuals stepped up, and we made some modifications in our groups and our volunteer sessions. We allowed for spacing, and we did things like that were COVID friendly. But we were able to keep up with that 40% increase in demand because of our volunteers. And now that as of June 15th, that some of those restrictions were released, we're seeing more and more corporations come back. Teams within those corporations are coming back. Had a wonderful event this morning with one of our sponsors, and they do a day of giving. And so their teams volunteer throughout nationally, throughout the country, in food banks, and they also provide monetary donations. And so their donation today is going to supply 285,000 meals to hungry San Diegans. So yes, and I have a call to action. Volunteers have stepped up. We are seeing a little bit of lag in North County at our Vista site. We need more volunteers there. So if you're listening, you're in North County, go on our website, find some volunteer sessions at our Vista location.
Well, Mayor Jones is a close personal friend of mine in San Marcos, so I'll be sure to, get my giddy up stick out there and make sure that she gets some people engaged, because it's really an important issue. So you use the term COVID friendly. It's almost an oxymoron in my mind. There's nothing friendly about it. But so what are you guys forecasting for the Delta variant in terms of how you operate?
Yeah, bad choice of words. Good catch there.
No, don't take it personally.
And that's why the variant and other variants is why we think there's going to be a lag to recovery. We don't know what it will mean in terms of regulations or restrictions in California or here in San Diego County. If they are placed back on us again, then we'll worry about things like volunteers. But yeah, because of the variants, because of Delta, we expect this to prolong the need. And that's why we're forecasting out 2 or 3 years, because the 550,000 people we're serving right now, we think that's leveled off a little bit. However, with the eviction moratorium, inflation, a number of items like that, we actually think there might be a little bit of a tick back up. that'll move back towards the 600,000 people we're serving a month. And we expect to be between the 500 and 600,000 for the next year or two. And so that's our expectations for that. That's why we're going to continue to get out in the community and ask for volunteers. Why donations are so important, because we're going to need to continue to purchase food. That's our messaging, because that's what we think the need is, and that's what we're planning for.
So your job as CEO of this large organizations is probably more fundraising than anything else, right?
Yeah, especially right now. It is fundraising. Again, when you increase by 40% and have to increase personnel, we increased by 20% just for staff, warehouse workers, drivers, which has been a challenge. Companies throughout the country are facing those challenges as they recruit and try to hire. But we increased in personnel, in vehicles, and we're buying, again, a lot of food. And so, yeah, to support all of those new needs, fundraising is going to be key. And it will be a large part. It's a large part of my job right now and into the future.
Right. So, yeah, so finding good, competent staff, of course, is a challenge in most times, but it's been even more challenging during this pandemic. And hopefully that will improve, which is, one of the reasons why we at Perkins K8, we've taken this career pathways approach. And then hopefully in the next 2 years, we're going to potentially start a charter school that will be teaching useful skills, because people like your food bank or NASCO or Solar Turbines and Qualcomm, they're just they're in a historic low situation in terms of finding qualified, young, skilled people to come to work for them. And these are reasonably high-paying jobs. $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year is quite a nice livable wage. And so, but once again, we go back to what it is that you do. It's like foundational. So without that strong foundation, the whole system kind of falls apart. So that's pretty exciting. So you told me earlier that you're from Porterville, and so I promised I was going to come back to that. So in my small brain, I did remember that little tidbit. So where's Porterville, and what's so unique about that area?
So Porterville is a great place to grow up, and it's rare that somebody else knows where Porterville is. So I'm excited. You mentioned that you consider yourself a cowboy. I do kind of too. We lived on horse property. I listened to country music. That was part of my childhood growing up. So Porterville is, at least was a smaller town when I was growing up, about 35,000 people, right at the foothills, bottom of the Sequoias, right snap dab in the middle between Fresno and Bakersfield. So you have to want to get there to get there. It was kind of a little hidden secret. And people that do know it's because they passed it on their way up to the Sequoias. But again, great place to grow up. I'm glad you know about it, and I think we have a connection there with our cowboy desires.
Well, mine is more than a desire. Actually, we have a horse ranch in Bonsall. We are fortunate enough to have a bunch of, I think there are 54 horses on the property currently. So we're definitely immersed in horses. That's for sure.
So we never did, our family, but there were horses and cows surrounding us in properties all around us. So I grew up accustomed to all of that.
Yeah, oil fields, horses, cows.
Yep.
That's what you got there.
My kids, as we come down the Grapevine heading into the valley, always comment that it smells like Porterville, or it smells like the valley. I think they're picking up on the dairies or the cows. But that's what they think about when we're heading down the Grapevine.
It's wholesome stuff. That's for sure. So you're a really busy guy. You recently had to reassume the position as CEO, and I know that Jim Flores was with your organization for a number of years, and by all accounts did a really great job. So here you are. You're busting your buns out there every day trying to raise money and manage this massive operation and whatnot. So is there anything you do in your life currently to keep your balance?
Well, I'm involved in my church. I do a lot of volunteering there, probably about 20 hours a week. I have teenage kids that are in sports and dance, and so I'm often at games and their practices, and that is very helpful. That we all need that balance, and so and those are the things I look forward to actually throughout the day too. So yeah, I wish I had some other hobbies. I golf occasionally. The food bank has a golf tournament every year. Sometimes I'm sad to say that that's the only time I golf that year. I do have a goal to do more of it because I think that's healthy. And yes, so I'm looking for hobbies. So if you have any, send them
Uh,
my way.
sure, sure. I have fences to mend. If you want to come out to my ranch, I'll put you to work.
Yeah,
Not,
I could shovel whatever you need me to shovel, Jeff.
not a problem. In fact, I had executive producer Sarah, and her family were out to the ranch not too long ago with their two beautiful, intelligent daughters, and we didn't put them to work, but I did test them a little bit. We do. My wife has a program called Healing Horse.
Uh,
And so we use the four of our horses in a sort of metaphysical, spiritual environment.
yeah.
And then we also do some team building out there. And so I put the Davis family to a team building exercise, and the girls did a great job. Brett, I have to work with him a little bit on his team building skills, but in your business, uh, you've got especially with the amount of volunteers that you have. I mean, that's what a huge job that must be, just to maintain that. I don't know if it's a proper word, but the upness of that environment. How do you manage that?
We do have a wonderful team. We have volunteer coordinators that are very dedicated and good at what they do, and get to know these volunteers. We have lots of volunteers that come regularly, and so they've kind of built a family culture. And I think volunteers appreciate that, and they enjoy coming here. They will come here. They will do good work. They'll break a sweat, and in times if you bring your team, it could be competitive to see who can build as many boxes as they can, and you'll go home feeling really good about the work that you did, and know that later on that week that food will reach hungry individuals and families in San Diego County.
Yeah, that's really super. So the name of your organization, the Jacobs and Cushman. So give me a little history on how those two names got embedded in your program.
Yeah, both long-term and long-time donors and supporters of the San Diego Food Bank. Jacobs is Irwin Jacobs, and has been supporting the food bank for decades. And then Steve Cushman, longtime board member and philanthropist and supporter of the food bank. Back in 2009, the two of them got together. Our goal as an organization was not to have any debt. And we owed several million on this building in Miramar, a 100,000 square foot building. And so they got together and said, let's pay off all the debt. Let's pay off this building so it could be owned free and clear. And that's really where that came from in terms of the naming of the organization. Because of that effort, we did place their names on our building, and it became the name of our organization. And it was huge for us, and that's still the philosophy. Our board's very conservative in that way, and our goal is always not to have debt, and we really don't. We have a few vehicle leases, but outside of that, no debt, which means that all of our resources can go to our mission. We are a very lean and mean machine. Right now, 94 cents of every dollar that we spend goes towards programs and services, which is pretty incredible. You lead your foundation, so I think you are familiar with that expense ratio. Lots of nonprofits are happy to be in the 80s. So to be in the 90s sets us apart, and it's pretty incredible, something we're proud of. And it lets our donors know that the dollars that they donate to us are spent wisely and efficiently.
No, you're absolutely right. I'm very familiar with those ratios. I was the former chair of the YMCA overnight camping branch for many years. And we were just thrilled at our 92%
Yeah.
ratio,
Yeah.
which was, at that time right up there in the top. But you guys, you set the bar pretty high for everyone else. So
Well,
if you,
92 is amazing. And actually, we go back and forth between 92, 93, and 94. It
yeah,
just depends on the year. And
yeah,
we're
of
happy
course.
with any of those ratios.
So you're balancing 3 jobs plus your family. That's a lot of work for one guy. You're the CEO, the CFO. You probably get out and drive a truck on weekends when they run out of drivers. I mean, or you're out there putting boxes together. But I applaud you, and I'm just really excited to get to know you a little bit more. I'm familiar with your organization, and I encourage everyone who's listening to donate your time, your money, volunteer. The information is at the bottom of the screen there with your food bank number at 866-350-FOOD. That's 3663. Or you can go to www.sandiegofoodbank.org. But I want to just thank you so much for your time today. It's been a real pleasure to get to know you. I also want to thank my supporters, the San Diego Harbor Police Foundation, for letting me put this program on so that I can have people like Casey come on this show and promote what it is, what a great job he does. So it's great to meet you, Casey, and I look forward to spending more time with you in the future.
Jeff, thank you. We appreciate the opportunity. Grateful for the opportunity to be on this platform. And thank you for all that you're doing in the community, for your foundation and all the great work you're doing.
Thank you.